All right, good morning, everybody. Well, actually, good afternoon. You're gonna have to forgive me if I sound like DMX's big sister, but I just got up about 20 minutes ago. My voice only sounds this steady because I just got off the phone with one of my sisters, so I've been talking a little bit. But first thing, my voice is mad deep and raspy in the morning, so this is why I sound like this. So we're just getting back to it, and this is the piece that I've been working on, which is a companion piece to an existing recreation that I'm also working on. I'm letting it dry a bit so that I can go in and finesse it. And then I decided while that happens, I can go ahead and move on to this piece and start working on her. So that's what's going on. Yesterday, I added the block wicks to the top of her, and I'm loving the way that's looking. So going along really well so far. So far. And this is just going to be me working because there are a couple of other things I want to do sculpture-wise, small pieces outside of this for something I'm building on that I'm looking forward to all of you being a part of. And we'll talk more about that when the time comes. But for now, I hush. All right, what I'm doing right now is cleaning off the table because it's time for this piece to come off the turntable so that I can work on the bottom part, which is going to be an area that is level with whatever surface it's being put on, or it needs to be level with whatever surface it's being put on. So I'm just taking some paper towels, cleaning off all the dried clay, because once there's a little bit of moisture, I don't want it sticking to what's already there on the table. Whatever residue it creates that's new, that's no problem. But I don't want it joining to residue that's existing that should have been cleaned off. I need it to be a dry surface. Even though it's going to get messed up again, as it always does, because of what I'm doing, this needs to happen. So it's happening. And I'm probably going to have to take the large scraper in order to separate this from the turntable at this point because it's been on there so long. I've been pressing into it. That scraping that you're hearing, that's me scraping this off camera with this. And that's just because I need to get on in here. I'm not worried about it lifting or this part being level because so much is being added to it. So I'm doing this real fast, real quick, real sloppily, just to get it off of here. All right, and I've accomplished that goal. All right. So I'm doing some symmetrical smoothing right now because I want it to feel pretty much the same on both sides. And the easiest way to gauge that is by watching and feeling how your fingers are moving as you're pushing the clay out of the areas you don't want it to be in and into the areas that you do. I'm able to determine that this feels the same on both sides so that I know there's balance. And I'm still looking to make sure it's what I need it to be. But also you can feel this beneath your fingers. I started applying more pressure here because I felt it leaning over to the right. So I'm trying to nudge it over to the left gently, and that's by moving the clay. Because this hasn't been hollowed, the core is still very solid. There's a lot of clay on the inside, and by pressing on the outside like this, I'm just compacting it and creating and establishing that great balance, because all of this is going to end up coming away. But I want to make sure that once it does, and I start doing what I need to do, this is not a piece I'm going to have to worry about toppling over or doing something very unexpected. So you just approach it from both sides and make sure that you feel what's happening and that it feels good and right to you. Not worrying about detail or any of that right now, just worrying about getting this balance the way I want it. So now I'm maneuvering the area underneath the chin, pushing in with both fingers. And pushing the clay back and in, compacting while I'm moving. I also altered the shape of her chin a little bit. I wanted it a little more angular, a little more pointy, because I think it looks cute. That's really it. That's it. It's not about being anatomically correct or even extremely proportionately correct. It's about the aesthetics. How do I want her to look? What does she look like to me right now? So as you can see, at this point, I try not to do too much handwork, only because I have these nails and I've gotten attached to them and putting colors on. I'm a tomboy, so I have very few girly girl tendencies. All right, I'm back. So I lost some footage because I guess I've got so many videos on my phone or whatever that the recording kept stopping and shutting off. First it was interrupted by a phone call, and then it ended up being interrupted by the phone itself because it was saying that I did not have enough space. So that sucked, but whatever, I'm back. And what I'm doing is I have a cutting board on my lap because I took a bunch of randomly shaped pieces of clay that are in a bag that I keep for purposes like this, so that I can go in, repurpose it, and use it for what I'm doing. So again, don't know how much of the former video was caught. So previously I worked on the companion piece, and I added slip. I scored the sides, I added slip. I took it off of the turntable and put it onto the table so that I can start doing what I'm gonna do with this piece. So for that, I needed a slab to start with that I'm gonna build out. And I think this slab is good enough. It was a bunch of pieces of clay, so I had to compact it, press it into the shape that I wanted, and I'll build up from here. And once I do one side on the sculpture, I'll know how to approach the other side. So I'm going to move in here, and bear with me while I adjust the camera again. And I'm going to turn it around, get us back on track. All right, I put my cutting board back. Whoa, I kicked the whole camera, the whole tripod. Sorry, guys. All right. That moment of nothingness was me thinking. All right. Using the fork to make some deep grooves, deep texture. I've got a lot of slip all around the sides of this. Not going all the way to the back. And I need to fit this piece together. So I'm just bringing it around. I feel like I want to put more slip there, so I will. Don't worry that the sculpture is moving over some. It's because I'm applying so much pressure to make sure that this piece is joined. And I can't brace this side with my hand because I applied slip to it, which of course I now realize I shouldn't have. I should have applied slip as I go around. But you live and you learn. I didn't know, okay? So that's what it boils down to. Didn't know that there was a better way for me to do it, and I should have done that. But I'll know next time because I can see a lot more of these in my future, this style, what I'm doing. So I'll take note and I'll learn, you know. Now, just that little pushing, I ended up shaking the entire table. Okay, Michelle. And now I've got to check on those pieces over there. 3 sisters, 1 fro. and hope that I did not jar anything, disturb anything to the point where I created some cracks, because I don't know if you remember, one hand of one of the sisters cracked completely, and I'm still in the process of repairing that to my satisfaction. You have to go back and revisit it. You have to do a lot of what they call passes. You know, you do something once, you wait to see how it turns out, and then you go and do that same thing in the same space, in the exact same place, and hope that it works out again. If it doesn't, then you go back and you repair some more, and eventually one of those passes will take. Eventually, that clay will get into the areas that you need it to get into. That slip that you're repairing with will adhere the way it's supposed to, but you just have to be patient, because it might not happen the first time that you go to repair it, and that's just what you deal with. And you can't see what's happening on this side because it's too far away from you, but I'm just joining this piece of clay and pushing the clay so that I feel like there's a nice secure connection, and joining it to what's existing, pushing up and in. And I have to be careful with this because this rocks the clay. So I have to make sure I don't throw this off balance and end up with something wonky by the time it's all said and done. Whatever you want from me, what you need from me, oh, I give you all, every part of me. That's another shout out to Lamar Jones. V&V knows, Voices and Vibes, the Play Cousins know that when you hear the words said and done, you need to pay tribute to the one and only Lamar Jones and sing that hook. You need to sing it. So that's what we do around these parts. I almost said, if you know, you know, but you realize that J-Lo has messed up that phrase for us with that whole orange drink. If you know, you know. Shut up. So anyway, that's what's happening here. Pushing in, blending, making sure these pieces are securely joined. I'm just coming around. All right, now I'm getting to your side, and you'll be better able to see what's happening here. I'm pushing in, just pushing, 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 because I want this clay securely joined. There's a lot of slip that came up, which is good, because that tells me that the pressure I'm applying is working, because it's pushing the slip into those grooves. And once the slip has populated those grooves and doesn't have anywhere to go, it's going to seek other escape routes. And that's all letting you know that you have a nice join, hopefully. Hopefully. That's not to say that nothing can go wrong. You can still do all of this and end up with an air pocket that you don't know about. So, you know, cross your fingers. That's really all you can do from that point. Cross your fingers, hope for the best, take your time. If something is telling you to go back and revisit an area, listen to it, go back, revisit that area, because it can't hurt. I mean, you can't overwork a piece. You know what I'm saying? You cannot. So if you go back and you decide to add more clay, and then you realize later, I don't want that much clay right there, then you're just going to take it away. No such thing as applying too much pressure if you're doing your due diligence and making sure that it's not throwing something else off. Like I said, I have to look at this and make sure that her head is level in the way that I want it to be. And you do that as you go along. All right, so that piece is coming out the way that I want it to. There is some shaping that's going to happen. You can see right here where I added a good amount of slip, and I'm going to add even more because I have a block of clay that I have to create that needs to go there. So I'm putting a ton of slip on this edge. I'm just doing some scraping and serrating. I'm going to put a ton of slip there because it's going to be joined right at that juncture. Was that the right word? Should I have said juncture, or should I have just said it's going to be joined right there? Probably should have just said it's going to be joined right there. So this is my big bag of Ziploc clay with a lot of randomly shaped pieces. I usually have to peel it back because it's stuck to the bag. So I'm going to just break off a nice chunk. I'm going to add it to this chunk. And I think that I'll take you on the conditioning journey again. So I'm going to put this cutting board on my lap once again. Turn the camera so that you can see it. And you can watch me do that. All right, so I'm going to have to position this downward more so that you can see. So bear with all the jiggling while I adjust the tripod. All right, I think that should do it. I hope that's a good angle for you. It's difficult for me to see because of how I positioned the camera. But here's the block. Here's the piece that I just put off. And I'm just going to put those together and start slamming them onto the cutting board to join them together. The clay is really moist, so you can see it's sticking to the cutting board. I'll move back some so you have a better view. Can you please wipe down your bathroom, Fabuloso? It does not smell fresh. Are you spraying the shower stuff? Wipe down everything, because that guy has to come by here and check out the leak. I called him, but I didn't hear back from him. And mop. All right, I think I've created a slab that's big enough to do what I need to be done. So let me adjust the camera again. I'm sorry, bear with me as it gets crazy and jiggly and shaky. All right, and I'm gonna turn it back around. Well, actually, I think I want to turn the whole tripod. All right, that works for me. So I've thrown the cutting board back on the floor, and now I'm going to serrate the edges with the fork so that I can join this block here. So I'm going to be joining on this side, so that's what I'm serrating really deep with the fork. You already know there's a ton of slip on here to help put that together, and I'm going to bring it in. So I'm really mashing this. Now I'm using this tool to push in and join this around to here. This clay is heavy with slip, and that's what I want because I need this connection to be solid. So I'm pushing in and combing around. I'm pushing in and combing around to join these pieces as securely as I possibly can. Pushing in, sweeping around. Pushing in, sweeping around. Taking off excess as I go along. Fixing up a few things as I go along. Pushing in, upward. Use the round part instead of the straight edge, because sometimes when you're working on a curve or working in a particular direction, the rounded edge really does the trick for you. Ty, do me a favor. Take that lemon pepper chicken out of the freezer, the rotisserie one, and just put it on the stove. Thank you. Huh? Yeah, what time is it? It's 2? Oh, I didn't know it was that late. Yes, I am. All right, I am using the side of my hand to mold this clay. Push it up. And the reason that I'm pushing inward is because, remember, all of this around here has been joined with slip. And I want to make sure that those pieces are pressed in very tightly. And I can't do that if I'm pulling out this way, because I'm just pulling the joined clay away from the existing clay. So my focus needs to be either on just pressing straight down or pressing down as I push inward, which is what I'm doing with the edge of my hand. And I know that I'm making that hold even more secure because I can feel some areas where the slip came out. So it's just compressing even more. So once again, same thing. Using the hardest part of my hand, either the edge or the heel, to press down and up. I just shook the table again and nervously looked over at Three Sisters One Fro. Now, I tell you, this is going to be so difficult to get off of the table when it's time, but I'm not worried about that just yet, because all of this clay is wet and it's sticking to the surface, believe that. So I'm going to have to go in there with that scraper and really work. What time do we have to leave out, Ty? Okay. All right, y'all, I've got to get ready to take the young man to work, so I'm going to have to end this video. He just works a few minutes away from home, so yeah, no, I was going to leave her out, but the AC is on pretty strong, and I don't want her drying out too much. So I'm going to go ahead and cover her, just loosely tint her with a plastic bag so that she stays at, you know, a particular moisture level. All right, so I'm going to hit the spray. Cover the slip back up. Put the table back on. That didn't make any sense. I didn't put the table back on. Put the plate back on top of the bowl. These wet pieces of clay, I'm just gonna, yeah, I can sit it right on top of here because there's still work to be done on that. That's not disturbing anything. And that's all I need to do for her right now. The time on this video is 26 minutes and 10 seconds. I really appreciate y'all. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I gotta go wash my hands and get ready to drop the boy off, and then I'll be back in a few. Peace. So there was an incoming call from my cousin. I don't even know where this video left off, so I'm gonna repeat myself and I can just edit it out if that part got captured. There was an incoming call from my cousin. I had contacted her thinking, well, I'll catch up with her right quick and then I'll start videotaping, but she didn't pick up. So I remembered that today might be her moving day, and then I realized, well, she probably can't get to the phone, so I need to just go ahead and get started. So while I was doing the video, of course, she called back and it cut the video off. So I pulled out a lot of misshapen lumps of clay out of a bag that I keep, and right now I'm just conditioning it. So I have a cutting board that I have to sit on my lap in order to be able to pound the clay solidly like I need to. I cannot do it on the table. The table shakes too much. The table is made out of pieces of wood that don't have a lot of thickness, so it causes a lot of noise, a lot of rumbling. And of course, if I have a sculpture sitting on the table, it's an L-shaped table that was put together in sections. That sculpture will catch the vibrations, and I risk ruining a piece that I had sitting out and drying so that it can get ready for the kiln. So this way, I'm doing it like this on my own cutting board. Everybody's safe. Nothing's at risk of getting damaged. and I can bang as hard as I want to. Pause. I can condition the clay to the amount needed without worrying about any severe repercussions.